This month, we are focusing on mental health, mental wellness. I have partnered with the Mental Health Action Network to help them promote their Mental Health Action Day on Thursday, May 16th. And the call to action is simple. It is dedicate 1 hour of your week to connection. So in this podcast, I'm really going to highlight some ways that you can have more awareness about the everyday toxins or things that you're consuming, how they're affecting your sleep, which is really like your number one tool to preserve and promote your own mental health. But connection is another one of my 6 pillars of optimal wellness. And I love that their call to action is so simple, just 1 hour of connection a week. So that can look like joining a community group. It can look like dedicated, present, one-on-one time with one of your loved ones. It can look like connecting with nature. It can look like connecting with self. Maybe that's just rest. Maybe it's a meditation, a yoga class. Like, what do you do once a week for 1 hour to connect? Define it how you will. If you want personalized ideas, please don't hesitate to reach out. And this month, I would like to offer a open invitation, one-on-one personal mental wellness support, just to give you some ideas on what you can do with your own personal agency to improve and preserve your mental health. And, if you're in doubt as to whether you should be seeking other professional support and what kind of support, I'm happy to be a sounding board for anyone. So I'll leave that on. You can reach out to me via email or in the DMs on Instagram or LinkedIn, and we can get that on the books. So Mental Health Action Network is doing their Mental Health Action Day, Thursday, May 16th this year. You can find them at mentalhealthactionday.org, .art. If you want to partner with them, it's a really simple form you just fill out, and they provide you with all of the resources and also all sorts of graphics and tools. There's things for teachers. And it's just making mental health awareness fun, powerful, colorful, just something that makes it not hard for people to ask for support and seek connection this week. Welcome back to one of my morning rooftop musings. This is Wellness is a Way of Life. And we're focusing on mental health awareness. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and let's be honest, it's something we should have on our radar all the time, not just 1 month a year. There are so many people suffering in silence on the one hand, and simultaneously I see people being overdiagnosed, or at the very least given diagnoses that allow them to be over-medicated on things that more often than not always, but often, could be solved in more holistic, basic fundamentals such as prioritizing sleep, eating better, moving our bodies, considering what everyday toxins are affecting our mood consistently. For me, it was as a young mom, I was sleep deprived as you are, and I was just making it work or getting through my days with, some relatively healthy but treats. So sugar, I was relying on sugar and liquid sugar or alcohol after 4, and also a lot of coffee. And that combination is not great for your mental health in the long run. if you're not being very careful and intentional, I mean, of course, I would argue try going without all three and then lace them in again intentionally one by one, so you personally have absolute clarity on how caffeine, sugar, and alcohol are affecting your well-being. So on the one level, the very sort of the foundational level, they're definitely affecting the quality of your sleep. And you're always looking for quality over quantity, although most adults need minimum. If you're getting less than 6 a night, solid, really good hours, it's going to be affecting your capacity to concentrate, focus, be creative for sure. It's going to be quickly kicking you into low-level inflammation or fight or flight, which is stimulating cortisol, stimulating you to hold extra fat around the middle. So sleep is so important and so easily disrupted, and I understand for particularly young adults, but I see it in all generations. It just doesn't seem like a lot of fun to prioritize your sleep, It was one of the first things when we're in, late teenagehood, early adulthood, and we're living on our own and we're finally in control of our own schedule and we can just have at it and do completely crazy things in terms of flipping our sleep schedule, sleeping through the day. And I'm not saying everyone does this, but I think, at the very least, the majority take on this norm of having a different sleep schedule during the week when they need to work and flip it or dramatically change the hours that they're going to bed on the weekend. And it's just, in the long run, disastrous for our well-being and our mental health. It catches up sooner or later. So there's that layer on how sugar, alcohol, and caffeine are affecting your well-being. It's for sure inhibiting your ability to sleep as profoundly as you could. And when you get this incredible night's sleep, you wake up and you feel like a whole different person. There's a reason. So that's one layer. Another layer is just the spikes that your system, let's take sugar, but also caffeine, also alcohol. So you're playing with your hormones, you're playing with the neurotransmitters that regulate your mood when you're consuming these types of things. So you immediately get some sort of warm fuzzy feeling. In the case of caffeine, it might not be so much warm fuzzy as this clear upkick in energy. But then the body is always trying to maintain a homeostasis, right? So it'll compensate, or in the long run, when you're over consuming these things, overcompensate. And one, it can just throw off, the natural balance that you already had established, and that can be problematic in the long run. But two, in the daily experience, it's you feel amazing because you consume sugar, alcohol, or caffeine, or, it suits its purpose, however it's making you feel that you are using it as a go-to. And then quickly it pulls you the other side of whatever that amazing feeling is, right? So at what point is that yo-yoing? Not talking about yo-yo dieting, but that's another aspect. But it's just your hormones, your neurotransmitters that regulate mood are just going bing, 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 back and forth. And it wears. And ultimately, it becomes really hard. You're just kind of sitting in this weird middle that makes it very hard for you to completely naturally, feel the absolute extremes of the emotional spectrum. So in the case of alcohol specifically, and I think it's very similar with sugar, it just makes you feel comfortable. It becomes that feeling because you've adapted to this feeling. So you feel like you're in this comfortable place, you feel good, you're not feeling all the things you don't want to feel. But little by little, that is taking your ability to feel the extreme feelings of joy and elation with just the beauty of life, or, a sunset, or, the connecting of your cheek to a baby's cheek, or looking a child in the eyes, like all these things that just naturally spark joy. And you're numbing down your ability to feel that. Of course, you're also numbing at the opposite spectrum, which is what most people are trying to do. So most people pick up these habits for, to avoid the pain, to avoid the extreme negative feelings. And then it just keeps them in this sort of middle homeostasis. And now you add on a layer of a prescription antidepressant or anti-anxiety or sleep medication, and now you got a cocktail of things going on that are really just going to keep you feeling absolutely no better than this ever. You're not going to be able to break out of this, new homeostasis of just not feeling the extreme pain. And, I'm sure some people are okay with that. They would rather be in like a sort of happy mediocre medium, and avoid feeling extreme frustration, pain, disappointment in themselves, all the things, grief, anguish, heartbreak. Instead of really feeling those feelings, they'd rather just feel pretty good, and then also cut themselves off from feeling like absolute elation and pure excitement for, the natural things that are life. So I say all this to bring it back to a lot of people are using these, I would say the majority. The average person's using at least one: sugar, caffeine, alcohol, to regulate emotions in a way that they don't really consciously know, I would say. We sort of have an understanding on, better yet, we have a lot of stories that we are told about why we would have a drink to, numb the pain or relax, or, just like not feel what we're feeling, numb out. Sugar, I think it's similar to alcohol. You have reasons to consume it because you want to feel more up, and reasons you to consume it to feel more, relaxed, not down. And you don't consume it consciously to feel bad, but you consume it to feel less of whatever you're feeling. And really, that's only true for a 20-minute period, that it makes you feel better, or it makes you feel, a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. And then very quickly after, if you're not consuming it on an ongoing basis, you're going to feel worse. It's going to spark a release of cortisol. It's going to make you feel, for sure, the lack of energy. Like on a physical level, it brings you down. So depressant, but then also it kicks you into feeling anxiety, and who wants to feel that? So of course it's like this vicious cycle. And to me, my journey, as I started off using as an example, is first I got rid of sugar, and I was very clear on how sugar was affecting my mood, and dramatically increased the quality of the things I was consuming, meaning I was, try to, when I feel like I need a little energy boost, I try to do it with fruit first. And if, I still like craving the chocolate chip cookie or whatever, I will decide to partake when I have access to a very high quality version of that. There's something that's kind of like worth the whole little emotional roller coaster that my body's going to go on. And I consciously, presently eat the cookie and feel absolutely no guilt. And in that, over time, I've developed this just awareness, and connection, I guess, to why I'm doing it, and not feeling guilty about it. And therefore, I don't need to have, 6 cookies and hide it to my immediate family members, let's say, or children, or or to myself, or feel like this layer of guilt and shame. It's just like, no, I'm having a cookie or whatever. I even might have 2 or 3, but not the point where it's like, okay, now we're not consuming the cookie because we want to enjoy the goodness of the flavors and the texture. Like, you're just consuming to consume, or really to numb. And it's the same with alcohol, in terms of it being like, you could try and consciously consume it here and there. That never worked for me. But it was interesting to me to understand, because I don't feel like we talk about this enough, how emotional eating, or eating certain foods that are just not making you feel great, that we lean on for comfort, they really are just keeping you in this cycle of not feeling good about yourself. And these are just so common that I wanted to pull them out and talk about them a little bit, so that we understand how how so many people are getting to the point where they do need extra support with their mental health. Like, we're just, screwing on a basic level with these things, with the average American diet, if you will, or the normalized social drinking, or the using caffeine, from 6 a.m. to whatever. Some people drink it even into the afternoon, just as this sort of fuel, like they can't live without. So when we start peeling back these layers, we realize that there's so many ways that they're affecting our well-being in a way that we're actually in control, or we can find a control and a deep awareness that can help us feel better on a baseline, in a way that we shouldn't, hopefully we're not jumping to going to get diagnosed so we can find, pharma solution, a pill to feeling better. If you optimize your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being, and you still are feeling like you need professional help and support with your mental health, well, then I think you should definitely seek it out. And I'm not saying you shouldn't seek it out while you're optimizing your wellness in ways that you have control without taking a pharmaceutical solution. However, I feel like this is not being proposed, if you will, by mental health professionals. There's a lot of, on the one hand, there's a lot of stigma, but also there's a lot of just, I think, fear. Like, if we don't turn this around, the person could be in a dangerous situation, and there's concerns of liability. And I get it, it's very, very complicated, but where it's got us is to a point that people, and my area of focus is always women are being overdiagnosed, especially at my stage. I'm 45 this year, so women are being misdiagnosed, or not heard, seen, appreciated, fully taken seriously in all of their symptoms, something that might very well be more connected to perimenopause, for example, or just a lack of exercise, sleep quality, purpose in life, the quality of the food they're eating, and or the layer of weekly drinking. Like, all these things are things you can consider changing before you take prescription meds for, anxiety, sleep, and or depression. So I won't keep talking in circles. I hope maybe this brought some clarity on ways that you can maybe support yourself better now and in the future, and maybe some insight into, close friends or family that might need support with optimizing their wellness first, and or in continuum with seeing a mental health professional. Because I really, really believe and see that this is not happening, and it could really support people in a way that they're not going to be reliant on the prescription solution for the rest of their lives, which is what many of them are being told. So Hope this was helpful. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here live on my rooftop. Won't be too many more times. We'll have these rooftop sessions, listening to the birds of Chiapas in the background. Sending you so much love. Hey there, one last thing I wanted to share with you. If you're enjoying this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you could rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. It really does help us grow the show, and this being so important to me to get this message out to more women to help them optimize their wellness and ultimately their lives. This is my mission, and I would greatly appreciate it if you could support the podcast by rating and reviewing. Thanks in advance. Have a good one.